Recently, over the last several weeks, uranium producers, this is URA, has been weak, coming down from over 33 to under 29. And at the same time, the uranium price itself has been relatively weak all through 2024, coming down from over $105 all the way down to under 85. Soon though, it's all going to turn around. Zooming out over the years, we see that uranium cycles do last for around 159 days on average, at least since the middle of 2019. Although the duration of any particular cycle might range anywhere from 3 months all the way up to 8 months long cycles. The recent low in uranium price, that's on the 11th of June, was 89 days into this ongoing cycle. And while there is a small chance that that was actually the low and the uranium price is going to shoot higher from here into the new cycle, the chance of that is perhaps 40%, so quite considerable. It is a good possibility, but a more likely scenario is that we're going to see a repeated poke below these relatively wide Bollinger Bands before a rally into a new cycle starts in earnest. Even then, I don't really expect the cycle to continue for too long, perhaps a little shorter than usual. That's because the previous cycle was such an extremely long one. Those might actually be accompanied by a couple of short cycles to bring the average duration back down to that typical 159 days, at least over the last 5 years. Zooming out a little and noticing the current RSI, recently it did drop all the way down to 22. And over the last 3 years or so, any dip down to this level of 30 did often signify at least a bit of a local low on uranium prices. Talking about RSI, situation is also quite interesting on uranium producers themselves. This is URA, Uranium Producers ETF, and recently RSI did dip a little bit below this level of 40. Again, over the last 2.5 or 3 years or so, let's just go back to the beginning of 2022. If one were to say buy URA just after its RSI dipped below the level of 40, these purchases would be shown by these circles on the chart. In most cases, those would turn out to be relatively good buying opportunities. The red circles represent the opposite, meaning that in the short term, within the ongoing half a year or so cycle, those red buying experiences didn't really play out into the rally of the next cycle. But in 7 out of 11 cases since the beginning of 2022, basically that's in 2 out of 3 chances, buying at the time when RSI dips below the level of 40 has worked out relatively well, even within the short term. In the long term, of course, buying mostly anywhere through 2022 and 2023 has played out relatively well so far, especially earlier into mid-May. And zooming in again, while there is a chance that the cycle low has been reached on the 11th of June, so for that reason you do want to have at least some exposure to uranium, which by the way we do with the members at myfinanceteacher.org. All the details of my trades are in this model portfolio. So while you do want to have some exposure to uranium, there is a pretty good chance that we'll see another poke below this 200-day moving average and a repeated poke below the Bollinger Bands before a more convincing rally into a new cycle takes place. And as for uranium producers versus the uranium price itself, this is the ratio here, uranium producers over the uranium price. This ratio has declined over the last 2.5 years, meaning that producers are cheaper versus the uranium price itself compared to the situation in late 2021, early 2022. During this time, as uranium price has made a higher high, at $106 versus only about $64. That's a higher high, that is about 65% higher. Uranium producers though, at the same time versus say early 2022, only made a higher high that is about 18% higher. So once a new cycle of purchases ramps up in uranium, I think there will be a pretty good chance for those producers to catch up a little bit. And for more on those purchasing cycles, as well as the most important developments in uranium industry, check out the energy category at myfinanceteacher.org, where we publish the best uranium report you can find on the net. The next one with a lot of juicy detailed information will be coming up in July. For now, let me wish you a fantastic Friday, a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.